ATF and this administration seem hell-bent on sticking up a middle finger.
We are the Armed Attorneys. Today we're talking about the proposed ATF rule on stabilizing braces and whether this rule may be dead in the water. It happened once before. Can it happen again? But before we begin, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting that like button. And to start things off, this is not the first time we've seen stabilizing or proposed rules on stabilizing braces. This has died once before.
It has. And Richard and I have spoken to some people who are former ATF employees, who have sort of an inside track with the ATF, who have hypothesized to us that they think that it is maybe not even just within the realm of possibility, but likely that the ATF will end up withdrawing this rule before its final published date in December. Now, the frustrating thing about people with inside sources is they won't tell you anything about it. You know, of course, as you can imagine, we had 1,000 questions for these people. Why do you think this? Give us some reasons. And they stonewalled. And so we don't know the reasons, and it's driving us bonkers. And if you have any thoughts, please comment below, because
but I will
we'd love
say,
to hear.
Yeah, I will say, though, that it was 2 independent sources.
It was, yes. So interesting, but...
Interesting if true.
Interesting if true. We will see. So, yes, back to Richard's original point. This has happened before. I'll take you back in time to December of 2020, in which the ATF proposed guidance for stabilizing braces. This happened somewhere around, I believe, December 18th of 2020. Virtually the same day, Representative Hudson, joined by about 80 or 90 other congressmen, wrote a letter to the ATF that essentially said, what are you doing, guys? I mean, this is an infringement on the Second Amendment. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't help clarify what you've said about arm braces in the past, which has been horribly confusing. And your proposed guidance here still gives you the discretion to just kind of willy-nilly say something is an SBR. We don't like that. And you know, because you've said it in the past, ATF, that these arm braces really benefit disabled combat veterans. And so why do you want to punish these guys of all people? Within about 5 days, and with a ton of uproar from, regular citizens, from the industry, the ATF withdrew that proposed guidance. They didn't say much about why they withdrew it, but they withdrew it extraordinarily quickly. So that's December of 2020. I believe it was withdrawn on December 23rd, 2020.
Yeah.
Very quickly. Now, fast forward to June of 2021. The ATF has a proposed rule. We've got this new form 4999 with the point system for stabilizing braces. And we're living in a very similar world where ATF wants to take away the stabilizing braces. We want to tax stamp them. I say take away. What I mean is register. We are still, ATF, going to make kind of just random decisions. There's a point system, sure, but also we really just want to be able to say whatever we want is an SBR, regardless of our point system. We're living in the same world, and that same world includes, right, Richard, another letter from members of Congress, correct?
Yes, and it's a little bit bigger this time. We had 140 representatives in this time say, hey, ATF, DOJ, what are you doing?
The letter's basically identical in verbiage, right?
Yeah, and they cranked it out pretty quickly. But, I think there are a couple of distinctions that we can make. The first go around was proposed guidance. This is from the technical division of the ATF. This go around, we're looking at a proposed rule, and we saw that in July 2021. We saw the proposed rule. We saw a comment period, huge number of comments, over 200,000 comments. And that's somebody's job to have to respond to all of that. Mm-hmm. So that's a feat in and of itself. But why it's different this time a little bit, but why we're still hopeful is I don't think the fundamental problems have changed that much. Now, the biggest concern I think that was pointed out in the original letter was just kind of the ambiguity of what this constitutes. And now, as Emily said, we have this point system, but I don't think it resolves the underlying issue because it's a difficult sheet to use. I've looked at the videos on YouTube of folks, trying to explain these things. And for just an ordinary person trying to figure out, am I in compliance with the law? Am I not in compliance with the law? It doesn't seem to make their lives any easier. On top of that, it doesn't address the concerns that, hey, the ATF has acknowledged that these things served a legitimate purpose. I don't know that y'all have added any clarity in that regard as well either. and then just this huge outpouring of uproar from representatives and the public. So I don't know what's changed.
But are they going to withdraw at this time? Because it happened so fast last time.
Right.
And my thoughts, just being like dumb old criminal defense lawyer in Houston, Texas, Emily, who tries to limit her interaction with the ATF as, and make it as minute as possible. My thought is, why now? Why it happened so fast last time? Then they obviously made a conscious decision like, all right, we fixed whatever problem we thought we had. And now, I mean, this is ongoing for a year and a half.
Right.
What makes you think the rule gets withdrawn now within weeks of when we believe it to be published? But again, I'm not the guy on the inside.
Right.
I don't know. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things, and the reason we think the proposed rule is going to be announced, or the final rule will be published in December, is some court filings from the Department of Justice, where they discuss the amnesty period, if everyone's heard of the stabilizing brace amnesty. And essentially, it came up in this very, very boring context of, hey, we need to modify the ATF Form 1 to allow the acceptance of photographs. And for the pistol brace amnesty. That was basically the leak that kind of tipped everyone off. Hey, this seems to be moving forward. But just as a practical matter, the volume of comments, the pending litigation that we've had with major questions, doctrine, Chevron deference with bump stocks here in the Fifth Circuit. There's so many things that's uncertain here. And I will add one more thing. When you have a bad rule that's clearly bad, get litigated, it really has much bigger implications than if you just kind of played by the rules.
I agree with you in theory. The ATF and this administration seem hell-bent on sticking up a middle finger in light of the cases that we have now, newly decided by the Supreme Court, that should limit that authority. So if we were in a logical, we're going to obey the law world, I would agree with you, but I don't think that's where we live.
Yeah. So we will have to wait and see if this rule is withdrawn. Like we said, it happened once before. Maybe it happens again. The two questions that keep getting asked, though, maybe you have these questions are, could I just take the brace off and would I be in compliance with the law? The second question that we get asked all the time is, could I file get one of these amnestied SBRs with a pistol brace? And then once the tax stamp is approved, just change the description of the firearm, switch it out with a stock. What are you telling people on this?
Well, first, attorney disclaimer. There is no final rule published, and so there is much we don't know, and any advice we give right now is not really advice, first of all, because we're not your lawyers, this isn't legal advice, but also because we can't give you advice on a rule that is not yet published. So we are speculating. However, our best speculation is there should not be any issue with simply owning an AR pistol or an AK pistol. If there is no brace attached, that should still be a pistol, comply with your state's law on owning pistols. Is this free SBR time? Can you send in your picture in your Form 1 with your arm brace? Can you get your free tax stamp? And then do you get to say, haha, now I'm going to put on a regular stock. I'm just going to send the ATF that nice little letter that says that I have modified my NFA item in this particular way, and I've got a free SBR.
We'll have to see.
I mean, and the thing is, like, if that is in theory permissible, which maybe, I mean, in hypothetical theory, like, yeah, do you want to do that when the federal government is already really going after gun owners and is making our lives really, really difficult? I don't know. Again, as criminal defense attorneys, we will always tell people, don't play fast and loose with criminal laws. It doesn't benefit you. Getting away with something is not worth the risk most of the time. That's what makes us different from, like, you talk to like corporate lawyers and particularly like in-house kind of guys, and you're looking at ways to play fast and loose to benefit your client. Right. You talk to criminal lawyers, we're going to be the exact opposite, the most conservative advice all the time, because ultimately, and people comment this all the time, it's not about, well, Emily and Richard don't think we should have these rights. No, that is not true. Do Emily and Richard think that most gun laws are unconstitutional infringements? Yes, I guarantee that we do. However, it is our jobs to give you the advice that will keep you out of jail or prison. And that is our main goal. So when we tell you to be conservative and play it safe, it's not that we don't wish we lived in a different world. It's that we're telling you what to do based on the world we actually do live in.
Yeah, and it's not a fun place to be, just because you did it doesn't mean you're not guilty. That's not a fun world to live in. But we hope you enjoyed this discussion. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video.
And please question and comment anything below, but Richard and Emily don't want me to have my full rights. Until next time, we're the Armed Attorneys.